Hi guys, this is Asal. I'm studying for the bar and I wanted to review my notes with you. So today I'm studying the intentional tort of false imprisonment. This is actually one of the easiest torts. It's very similar to kidnapping. It's just a milder form of kidnapping. So with that being said, I'm going to jump right into it. False imprisonment has three elements. The first element is an act by the defendant. The second element, intended and does in fact, 3, cause the plaintiff to be confined non-consensually within fixed set of boundaries that the defendants chooses for an appreciated amount of time. Okay, so it is for a certain amount of time, a certain length of time. And other factors of false imprisonments are the plaintiff must be aware of the confinement. So the plaintiff must know that they've been confined. If they don't know that they've been confined, then there is no false imprisonment. And 2, the defendant must confine the plaintiff without any lawful authority. So if there is some kind of a lawful authority, then that element is again not met. What does it mean to confine? For example, does confinement mean using physical force against someone? Does it mean that using physical force against someone's family or using physical force against someone's wife? Is that enough for it to be confinement? Or, for example, let's say that there's a man standing around and then another one comes and grabs his wife. The man cannot just go, because his wife is there. So not only is the wife being under false imprisonment, but the man is also under false imprisonment. Why? Because what is the man gonna do? He's thinking, am I gonna stay and fight or am I gonna leave? His wife is under someone else, So it's false imprisonment there, but also it's his false imprisonment too. The next thing I would like to talk about is when someone holds on to someone's property. Let's say someone holds on to this cup of mine and they're like, oh, if you leave this room, I'm gonna destroy this cup. But this cup is very valuable to me and is very unique. So in that case is also false imprisonment because that person will be forced to stay in the room. If not, that person is going to break their cup or do something to their cup. And then another thing is that when someone holds a gun at you, so when someone's holding a gun at you and they're like, you get out of this room, I'm going to shoot you, or you get out of this room, I'm going to shoot your wife, that's again another case of false imprisonment because that person cannot leave. They're under threat. They can't do anything and they're confined because of the gun. And also another thing is the length of time. And there's 2 types of confinement. There's a direct confinement where you put someone in a room and you close the room and you put a chair behind it and that person cannot leave. That's direct. And there's also the indirect where you exercise control over someone's property or someone's family and you kind of force them to stay within confined areas. And then also the last thing I would like to talk about is the confinement by duress. Confinement by duress has 2 elements, means remain in a prefixed area or suffer some other adversity which a reasonable person in a plaintiff's position would consider to be just as bad or worse than staying put. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about that. For example, let's say that there are people in the men's locker room. And this man, he's taking a shower. He comes out of the shower and he's trying to wear his clothes so that, he can go home to his wife. And then his friends, they decide to play a practical joke on him. They're all like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we steal his clothes and when he comes out of the shower, he's going to be walking around naked and he can't go anywhere naked because he cannot walk in public. So in that case, that person is being confined to a certain area because they cannot leave. They're stuck there because someone took their clothes. And then finally, there's expired lawful confinement where, for example, a police takes you, but then they hold you for longer than they should, kind of like a torture. So that is expired. They can hold you until a certain time, but after that time, they can no longer hold you. Also, another thing that is not false imprisonment, let's say that I'm mad at my husband and I'm like, you know what? If you leave this room and I'm going to divorce you. Would that be false imprisonment if the wife is telling the husband, if you leave this room, I'm going to divorce you? Like the husband is forced to be confined to that area. No, that is not false imprisonment because, the husband can leave anytime. Lastly, consent can make confinement lawful. So let's say that someone is consenting to staying somewhere. Like, for example, someone's at the store and they think that she stole something and they're like, hey ma'am, can you stay in this room? And then the woman's like, sure, and if she thinks that she can't leave anytime and if she's consenting to staying in that room, that is not false imprisonment. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to say about false imprisonment. It is a pretty simple subject. So when you think about false imprisonment, think about someone getting stuck in a car or getting locked in a car somewhere, or someone getting locked in a room, or just someone being forced to stay somewhere because there's a gun pointed at them, or someone being forced to stay somewhere because, someone else held their wife and they cannot leave because they cannot leave their wife behind or their child behind. So when you think about false imprisonment, just think about like a lower version of kidnapping. Okay, so that's pretty much everything I wanted to say, and I wish you luck. Good luck studying.